Shabbat Shalom. This is a day that the Most High has made. Welcome to another show. I am Heath the Preacher, and thank you for joining us on this Shabbat. Pray that you're doing well. In the midst of the transitional times, birth pains are definitely taking place. You could say the last days of the beginning are fastly approaching the beginning of days. Been having a lot of low hovering Black Hawks and military helicopters flying around. You know, it's been purported that the Essenes that, give me 1 second, let this fly over. Something's happening every day.
Yeah. Rattle.
Right on cue. Okay, sorry about that. It's a sign of the times, implication of the things that are to come. And as I was getting ready to state that we had the Essenes that talked about the fact that they prophesied and predicted. Let me see if I can find that quote real quick so I can mention it to you correctly. Let's see if I have it. Okay, the Essenes, which we know were part of the original Hebrew sect, who allegedly were the ones who wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls and hid them in the cave of Qumran, predicted that mankind would enter the final period of our age, this dispensation, the time of Esau, in the year 2025 AD, and it was called the final jubilee of the age of grace. In the past, the Essenes accurately predicted the first coming of Yahusha and Yah's judgment on Jerusalem in 70 AD. According to Essene writings, the Pharisees were using a corrupt pagan lunar calendar. However, the Essenes were using the original solar calendar that the Most High gave Adam, which allowed them to accurately foretell future events. Whether the Essenes were mystics or Gnostics, and that's what Christians will call them, to keep you from reading the truth about the original followers of Yahusha. They want you to follow the church fathers, which were converts that came out of Rome. Truth Unedited did a great 10-part series on that. I suggest you go and watch it. I have no problems referring you to that brother and his lessons. They're animated, but they are very informative based upon writings and firsthand sources. Now, as we've discussed, 2025 is also the date that's marked by multiple occultists. They believe humanity will transition into the new age and undergo a great evolution in their consciousness, the age of Aquarius, the golden age, and the new eon. So it seems like it's all coming together, and this is an amazing time to be alive. Tomorrow, you have an event taking place where the Temple of Notre Dame, I guess that's in Paris, in France, burnt down in 2019, and Macron vowed to have that thing rebuilt within 5 years, and it's been built, and all the political officials are going there. And as you know, the temple has checkered floors, it's Gothic, and so you know it's not a temple to our God. However, you have all political officials going, Trump flying overseas, Prince William going over there, as I mentioned, Macron, and a lot of other former presidents. So they also believe it's the rebirth of the phoenix out of the ashes. It's a symbol. It's symbolic to them in many ways. So we have a lot taking place other than just the earthquake in diverse places in Northern California, and wars, of course, wars and rumors of wars and famines and signs in the heavens. There's so much taking place, and I suggest you be ready. Hence the reason why I titled this Fear Not, because We need to understand that we're going to see the Antichrist, many false Christs, many false prophets, many false pastors being exposed, religion being exposed, people becoming very fearful, and people easily being deceived. Now, you need to remember this. He said, if it were possible, even my elect, the very elect, would be deceived. And the problem is a lot of people are going around here immersing themselves and trying to include themselves into being the elect based upon falsehoods of Christianity and false religion. And that's not true. You've even got people going around here calling themselves the chosen ones, and they're so far away from the Messiah and my Father. And they consider themselves a chosen one because they think they're different. No, what they are is special. And they need to have a relationship with the statutes, laws, and commandments and the high holy days and our Father, and draw nigh to him by becoming nothing. We don't go around here bragging about what we are, who we are, and putting ourselves on a pedestal and saying, I'm the elect, I'm the chosen one. Broad is the way that leads to destruction. The world that exists now is for many. The world to come is only going to be for a few. And that humility that's necessary is missing in today's society. The Ebionites and the Essenes and the people of the way were a poor people, a humble people, a people that didn't want to be seen, a people that were willing to forsake everything about this world to follow their Hamashiach, Yeshua HaMashiach. That's who they wanted to follow, to be like him. They wanted to forsake this world. And in Christianity, you don't have that, because that is a religion, a pagan religion filled with tares. And the tares are going to be the first ones to be burnt up. And I want you to understand that the way that the end of times has been taught to you in Christianity has to be redone. See, because he has not appointed his children, his seed line, his bloodline. He has not appointed them to wrath. The time of Jacob's trouble, we're going to get into that today, which is why I want to encourage you, exhort you on the Shabbat to fear not, to rest. You're not a prepper. You're not a deep underground bunker builder. You're not storing tons of war. You're operating in the way that the aliens and the Gentiles are operating, because they're operating out of fear, because they know there's a doom coming their way. And you have so many falsehoods out here now, and people trying to immerse themselves into this book and lay stake and claim to a heritage in this book with replacement theology and bad theology based upon curriculum. I don't care about the places you've traveled to and what you think you know. And there are a lot of deceivers out here. You'll find the majority of them on YouTube, but there's a lot of deceivers out here. So you can't be deceived. So before I get into the lesson about encouraging you to fear not, I need you to know that you're going to see the immersing and revealing and confirming of the Antichrist. I'm not here to get into who it is today, but Christianity didn't teach us that. They told us that we would be raptured out of here before all this took place. And this all started way back in 2019. You didn't even know that the peace pact was signed with the 70 nations and the Noahide laws were set into place in 2020. And you didn't really understand what was being given out in 2020 that initiated something as well. So I don't want to get into that, but I want to talk about not just the spirit of Antichrist, but I want you to be aware of how we are at the precipice of the Antichrist and the beast system taking full control. 1 John, Yachanan 2:22 says, who is a liar but he that denieth Yahusha is the Messiah. Whoever does this, he is the Antichrist that denieth the Father and the Son. That's something you should always be looking for in people's conversations, these podcasters and these so-called teachers and prophets. Anyone who denies that is of the Antichrist. John goes on to say in 1 John 4 and 3, and every spirit that confesseth not that Yahushua HaMashiach is come in the flesh is not of Yah. Now, the key to that is many are denying that he came as a man because there's other teaching out here called immaculate conception, immaculate deception. He came in the flesh. He said to the Father, thou hast prepared a body for me. What did he mean by that? For Jeremiah 1 and 5. Before you were formed in your mother's belly, I knew you, called you, sanctified you to be a prophet unto the nations. It is here that we see that we had existence and we were a soul prior to being immersed into the body that was prepared through our parents' conception and coming together and confirming their marriage. The soul goes to live in that body, which is the true essence of a person. And that was made by flesh goes back to the ground from which it came. If you're not believing that Yahushua HaMashiach walked in flesh and was a man, because you got a lot of people out here with confusing teachings that, Jesus is God. You're not going to tell me that he was talking to himself when he was dying on a tree and he said, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do. What is wrong with you? It's just as simple as that. Him going to pray for an hour and getting upset with Peter and them for falling asleep and said, can you not pray 1 hour? He went to pray to his Father. You're not going to tell me he was talking to himself and he said, can you take this cup away from me? Because he almost became afraid of what he was getting ready to have to do for his people to shed his blood and die and become a sacrifice. No, he was a man who was tempted in all points like we are tempted. The duality that was taught to you through Christianity makes you believe that he was God. So you say that's the only reason he was able to overcome. What you do is you give yourself an excuse for why you can't overcome, because you'll say, well, Christ was half God, half man. And that's the stuff that was taught to us. No, he was born in the flesh. And in many of the earlier accounts of the book of Matthew, it's clear about the Holy Spirit and what happened with Joseph and Mary and what came upon both of them to say that this that you have conceived is of Yah, the Most High. That's another lesson for another time. You can't deny that he came in the flesh, that he came through a seed, that he came through sperm. That's how he's of the tribe of Judah. And it is through the father, not the mother. Khazars teaches through the mother's lineage. No. It is clear in the book of Corinthians and Romans that the seed line of David is where our Messiah came from. And this, if you deny it, spirit of Antichrist. And who teaches that? From the Catholic Church all the way to the Christian Church, that he was not a man of flesh. And this is why you have so many people that believe in apparitions that keep saying he keeps coming back down here in the spirit. Jesus came and he appeared to me and he talked to me and he showed me this. It was even Paul who claimed, and nobody saw it on the road to Damascus, that he came back. Listen, people, the Messiah is not coming back until the second coming. He will come back in the flesh. He's not going to come in the spirit realm as a ghost to personally talk to people. No one is deserving of that opportunity. So you need to stop believing those lies of everyone, especially these false prophets, these preachers that are claiming that they're having all of these conversations with Yah, the Father, or with Yeshua HaMashiach, the Son, and that they keep coming back down here. They're not coming down here. Did you know that sin and darkness cannot exist or coexist in the same realm and presence and dimension as Yah? It will not, it can't. It's unclean. The two can't be in the same place at the same time. Prove it to you? Go into a dark room and turn on the light and see if darkness will dissipate. It leaves immediately. Immediately when you flip on the switch. It's that simple. That's why I gave you a simple analogy. It's that simple. You can't make half the room dark and let half the room be light when you turn on the light. You can't. It's just that simple. Whereof we have heard that it should come, and even now already is in the world, that people are denying he walked in the flesh. So that's why we have everybody talking about Christ consciousness now, which is a spirit of Antichrist, saying, I don't believe Christ is coming back. He's in us, and I want to develop the Christ consciousness. And they go as far as to use biology and your spine and your chakras and your colostrum going through your sacral unit and sending back up to the pineal gland, and then you being awakened. This is the New Age theology that's being taught out here in the world now. So it's Christ consciousness. Once again, they're trying to kill off that there is a man in the flesh that will return and conquer, and every knee shall bow and every tongue confess. For many deceivers are entered into the world who confess not that the Yeshua HaMashiach is come in the flesh. And that's all we're hearing now. Manifestations, Christ consciousness, all this. This is a deceiver and an antichrist. So I just want you to be aware of that. I just kind of want to point that out before we get into the lesson about what will happen to Yasharal and what's coming our way. We have to be aware of the deceivers. There's getting ready to be some type of paradigm shift. And I'm not relating it to everything that's happening, but there are people that know more than you know because they know you're under the deception of false religions. And while you're distracted and deflected with all these content creators, false prophets, false pastors, false trials, false juries, all this stuff that you're watching, they are carrying on their ceremonies in the hopes that they will not be destroyed, nor this civilization be destroyed, nor Esau come to an end, nor Yehuda rising once again, and there being a millennial kingdom. They want their technocracy to come into play and their new world and their industrial revolution. So they're having all these ceremonies, which in tomorrow at the Notre Dame Cathedral being one of them. You can look it up online. You'll see that it's a complete ceremony, and it's not to our Father. It's to these fallen deities. It's to Lucifer and these fallen angels and spirits, because Isaiah, the 14th chapter, he told you he would be worshiped. So he's immersed himself in what you call the church, which is a word, Latin, Greek, Roman. It has nothing to do with the assembly and the gathering of the Most High's people that are people of the way, who are people that live like the Essenes and the Ebionites live, and that renounce and denounce this world and the ways of the world. You know, the Ebionites, they didn't go to the Colosseum to see the gladiators fight and do all these things. And all these Christians are every Sunday at a cathedral with a phallic symbol on top of it that they call a steeple, or they're at their other temple watching the gladiator games, which is the NFL. And they have to go to their concerts and worship their idols, who sing their songs that sing to vanity and idolatry, and it becomes a part of your spirit. This is why he said, come out of her, my people, because it's been ingrained in you to do the things that the world does, when you should be chasing after the Father and preparing yourself for his soon return. So let's go ahead and get into it. Jeremiah, the 30th chapter. We're going to start at the 7th verse. And let's talk about, well, hold on before I jump into that. The revealing of the Antichrist, I'm quite sure, will take place within the next couple of months. And there's going to be a false light. There's going to be a false Messiah. The antithesis is that they want, the synthesis. Let's say this. There's a darkness, which was Satanism, and then there's a false light, which is Luciferianism. And they want to relate and tell you through syncretism that we're all praying to the same God and create a one world religion. Syncretism is the combining of every belief system and showing that it's the same God and the same Savior. Just as Iusis became Jesus, which was representing Apollo in Greek mythology. Tammuz, et cetera, which that time is coming with their fake pagan Christmas, which is really the worship of Tammuz. So the synthesis they're creating is what will usher in a one world religion when they turn on their beast system through their quantum computing, the image of the beast will be made and everyone will be required to worship it. Because why? This is the person, the man that's going to have the solution for all the wars, the famines, and of course the financial problems that we have. Every country, major country in the world right now has a digital dollar, and these dollars will be combined into a digital currency. You can't believe what the news is telling you, that your so-called the selection that you made that's going to take office in January 20th is going to keep the dollar strong. That goes against everything that's in the Bible, that's in the word, that's in prophecy. The dollar will be gone and destroyed, and there will be a one world monetary system. And at the forefront, church and state were never separated. And many of these wars and everything that was fought almost started with Rome. There were other captivities, but Rome was really at the head of it. Northern and southern Rome, western and eastern Rome. There was wars that had to do with the different religious systems and which one would be the predominant. And as we see today, Christianity with 2.5 billion believers, probably 30 is the predominant, and there's many people that want these people destroyed. So I am under the belief system that the revealing is getting ready to be completed as we move into the second phase of this tribulation period. So now let's talk about what's going to happen with Yahshua. Going to Jeremiah 30, verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Hallelujah. That you just need to hang your hat on that and have faith right there. For it shall come to pass, verse 8, in that day, the one that they call the day of the Lord, said the Elohim of hosts, that when this gets ready to happen, listen, Yehuda, real close. As we move into the bowls being opened and poured out, and this portion of the tribulation period, simultaneously, the Most High is through the prophet Jeremiah saying, I will begin to break his yoke from off thy neck and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of you, Yasharal. You will no longer be the oil and the fuel and the currency of this country. You drive. They got other nations that copy you and do it now. And they give them contracts to act like they can do what you do so that the people won't see just you doing it. But you are the driving soul force mechanism behind this country, and that you were put on the stock market when you were born because you were causing them to have free labor. They gave you a birth certificate that was put on the stock market. You created every genre of music that they sold around the world. The things that you were responsible for making was sold around the world. Your inventions were patented under your slave owner's name and taken away from you. I could go on and on and on, but I'm not doing a Black history lesson. You already know. And here, verse 8 is saying, I'm getting ready to burst the bonds. I know that we said 1619 to 2019 was the 400 years and the end of the final captivity, but it doesn't play out the way in your time frame, the way you think, because it's been taught to you different. You're going by a messed up calendar. That was the cracking of the end of the 400 years, I agree. But as to the fulfillment and it coming into fruition, we don't know the timing of Yah. His time is not our time. So the process, all hell broke loose when 2019 came. And I got news for you. The guy that signed Bill H.R. 1242, I believe I'm saying it right, and the amendment, it was Trump that signed that executive order, which commemorated the 400 years. When I saw that in 2019, I was like, are they confirming the word of Yah? through an executive order, and nobody paid attention to it. And then after that, the whole world came to a standstill for the first time in history and had to lock up in their homes and be given something, or else stay in your house. All of this was at the end of the 400 years of the final captivity. So verse 8 of Jeremiah 30 and 8 is talking about what's in Deuteronomy 28, that there will be a yoke of iron put upon our people to get us to become complicit with slavery. And you know when they took the yoke of iron? When they had broke our spirits and our souls through PTSD and Willie Lynch. They said we can take the yoke of iron off, the physical one, because we've enslaved their minds, as even Bob Marley said, mental slavery. They had to break us. It's like you can train a dog, and after you train him with a leash or collar for a while, once after so long, he'll know that he can't go over there because he'll think that restraint is still there. And that's the restraint that's been on Yasharal. But the prophecy saying simultaneously, when the day of Yahuwah comes, and I'm coming with judgment against the Gentiles and aliens, I'm going to be breaking the yoke off your neck. Verse 9, but they shall serve the Elohim. Verse 9 is talking about Yasharal. But they shall serve the Most High, their Yah, and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. I was making reference to the elect, and I need to let you know that the elect is not what Christianity told you. They used to tell you that the elect are a certain group of Christians that get to make the rapture. That is so untrue. Unfortunately, our forefathers have taught us lies and we inherited them. The elect are the children of Israel, which are the seed that are written in the Lamb's book of life. And they are the remnant that will come through, because 2/3 will be destroyed. But guess what? Even the 2/3 will have an opportunity when we go into the wilderness. The destruction comes in the wilderness to see who will survive under the rod. Because there's some people that will be destroyed along with this kingdom because they've made covenants and contracts with the Gentiles and this world. Those covenants and contracts have already signed their life away, their destruction, to be destroyed along with Esau, because their pledge is to him through their covenants and contracts, their record contracts, their gatekeeping contracts, their secret society contracts, their masonry contracts. These contracts and covenants they've made, even those who have renounced their heritage, their seed, and their race, and have married people of other nations and races because they aspire to be like that nation, their culture. Many of our women, that wanted Esau because she can't stand a Yasharal, type dude. No, that's what I'm in reference to. They have a natural hatred for their own, which was the purpose they went outside of the race to marry. He's making it clear in verse 9 that the true elect and remnant will begin to serve the Most High Yah as we see these things coming upon the land. So verse 10 is where we get the title of this lesson, Fear Not. It says, therefore, fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith Yahuwah, neither be dismayed. This is key. You can't be shook at what you're getting ready to see unfold. You've been blessed to live in the last days. It's either going to make you cower, be afraid, line up with them, or draw closer to the Most High and look up, because your redemption is drawing nigh. O Yasharal, for lo, I will save thee from afar. Pause. This is before he even sends Yeshua HaMashiach back to the firmament to collect us. He said from afar, where he is in the seventh heaven, he's going to save us. And he also said, look, and your seed, that means your children, from the land of their captivity, and Jacob shall return and shall be in rest and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. So during the time of Jacob's trouble spoken of in verse 7, nobody in verse 10 is going to make us afraid. We're going to be quiet, sit still and content, and be like, you used to say, my mother used to always act like this when she was sick, and I'd go in the hospital room and deal with these doctors and put them in her place. She'd be sitting there like, he got it. I'm not worried about nothing. He's going to take care of them. And so this is what he's saying about the children of Israel in the last days as we see all the stuff about to unfold. There will be bombs dropping. And there will be nuclear bombs dropping. There will be more assassinations in the streets with witnesses watching, like we saw this CEO and it being taped and nobody doing nothing about it. They know who did that. You're going to see more murders because they can turn anyone who's taking the solution into an assassin and send them off to do work. And they will do it because they're no longer of their own. But we are told not to be afraid, sit still, be at rest, be quiet, because he's going to give us that, because he's breaking the yoke simultaneously off of us. I'm sorry, people, you have to understand this. All of this has to happen to get to the millennial reign. There has to be a shift, and there's going to be some damage. There's going to be some damnation with this shit. It's not going to be pretty and nice. No. A birth is rough to bring forth a birth. There's birth pains and there's screaming and yelling and blood and the baby screaming and crying, and it's going to be rough. But at the same time, you'll see that it could be beautiful, because when the baby's born and everyone's smiling and laughing, they forget that quick how much pain that woman just went through, and that she just passed through the shadows of death and could have died, and the child could have died. So you have to have that mindset. Verse 11, this is what the Most High is saying: for I am with thee, saith Yahuwah, to save thee, though I make a full end of all nations. You hear that? He's saying, I'm getting ready to save you while I'm making a full end of all nations. That means destruction, mayhem, and terror. I'm saving you, but I'm destroying people at the same time. Wow. And what nations is he in reference to? All the nations where I scattered you. Yet will I not make a full end of thee. I'm going to destroy those nations, but I'm not going to make an end of you. I'm coming to save you. I am being the name of our Messiah, Yahusha, which means salvation, Yeshua, which means deliverance. He's coming to deliver. Salvation and deliverance is for the seed line, the children of Yasharah. He has to save us through the fire. This is why we talk about through the fire, because a lot of us aren't going to make it through the fire. Only our works will help us to have transliterated through the fire. We will not come through this fire if we have not been doing the works of the law, statutes, laws, and commandments that James talks about in that book. Show me your works, I'll show you my faith. Show me your faith, I'll show you my works. And what are the works? Keeping of these holy days and the restraint that we keep upon our lives, and not being like other people, living adulterously, homosexually, lasciviously, and making sure that we're not doing the part and not cursing and looking like other people. Peter cursed and lied and denied Christ when they said, they don't want him right there. He started cussing so he could blend in. Don't tell me cussing is all right, because you sound just like every other heathen when you're talking like that. And then he felt so bad when he caught himself and he saw he wasn't worth nothing. A lot of you are being tempted now, and you're feeling bad because you gave in to the pornography, or to the illicit affair, or to the cussing somebody out, or to fighting, these are testing and trying times that are coming upon you, and you got to take it. The Bible said, resist the enemy and he will flee. You are not alone. I go through these things. I went through these things last couple of weeks. I know thoughts are coming to your mind that you're not in control of, that Satan is using frequencies and subconscious thought through music, songs, film, movies that mess with you in your dreams. And you have to have the authority of the word of Yah to rebuke these things, and the testicular fortitude to be able to stand and say, I'm resisting the devil until he flees. This too will pass. This will pass. This will pass. Great is that that's in me. I'm more than a conqueror. No weapon formed against me will prosper. Do you go to your word or do you give in? Do you shake yourself like Samson or what? This is now where it's a defining moment. And it's going to happen the more so as this is approaching because you're of the elect. If you're of the seed of Yasharal that's keeping the commandments and you've been standing thus far. If you came through the last 3-4 years unscathed and passed the biggest psychological test anyone could pass and you didn't let it shake you, you're a target. So the yokes are being broken and I'm putting you and saving you from afar. I'm putting you in a safe spot and I'm getting ready to do damage to these other nations that have been mistreating you, that hated you, that enslaved you. Yet I'm not going to make a fool into you, but I will correct thee. I will correct thee. In measure and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. Now, there we go. And I will not leave thee altogether unpunished. This is Ezekiel, the 20th chapter. The correction is the gathering in the wilderness that was prophesied by Ezekiel. And he said, I'm not going to leave you unpunished. He's got to cleanse us out. He's going to purge out the rebels. And that's what verse 11 is talking about. Now, verse 12 says, for thus said Yahuwah, listen to this, thy bruise is incurable and thy wound is grievous. He's saying that what you've gone through as a people for the last thousands of years, not to mention the last 400 years, this bruise is incurable. The wound is there. We're damaged people. And verse 13, we have no leader. It says there is none to plead thy cause. We have no army, no war, no country, no nation. We have nowhere to go. May be bound up. Thou hast no healing medicine. This is nothing Dr. Sabi, Yaki, anybody can give you to heal the damage that's been done to us physically, mentally, spiritually, the sicknesses, the diseases that have come upon our people collectively. And what's happened to our generational curses and our children and the hate that exists, it's incurable. In verse 14, all thy lovers have forgotten thee. They seek thee not, for I have wounded thee with the wound of an enemy and with the chastisement of a cruel one. For the multitude of your iniquities, because your sins were increased. He gave you the option in Deuteronomy 28:1-12 to be blessed if you keep the commandments. But if you don't, 14-68, all the curses will come upon you. So the Most High is making it clear. I am the one that allowed this incurable bruise to chastise you because y'all became so sinful. The sins just keep increasing on our people. And you can see it now, all this turn up. Verse 15, why criest thou for thine affliction? See, you have an atoning going on through our crying about what has happened to us and what we brought upon ourselves as a people. Thy sorrows incurable for the multitude of thy iniquities, because thy sins were increased. I have done these things unto thee. 1 John 3-4. What is sin that's increased? Sin is transgressing the law. We have forsaken the law because we allow these pork chop eating pastors to sell us a dream that didn't exist. Living with other nations, cohabiting, having the American dream, following after falsehood Christianity, eating pork of the unclean foods, and living like the Gentiles, and walking further and further away from Yah. Therefore, all they that devour thee, Listen, he flips it though. He told you why we were in the predicament and why we were crying. But he's encouraging you now in verse 16. But all them that devoured thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil. So see, he's telling you, he's chastising you in 15. You brought this on yourself. Deuteronomy 28. And I did this, and it's an incurable wound. But 16, he turns around and starts to encourage you and take you back to verse 11. He says, therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured. That takes you back to 11. I am going to make a full end of all nations. And them that survive, that come through, look, they will go into captivity. They are going into captivity. Everyone that took you into captivity. For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith Yahuwah, because they called thee an outcast. You know the bywords they used on us. You know where they kept us, in the ghettos. This is Zion, whom no man seeketh after. There'll be no reparations for you. Our habitation of justice is in Yah. That's in Jeremiah. And our salvation is Yahusha. That's it. He makes it clear in verse 13. There's nobody that will plead your cause. There's nobody that can heal you. I laugh at all the herbalists that are out here now. You know, you can't heal the sicknesses that are on our people because the Most High allowed it because of our disobedience and the sin that we live in. But 17, he's saying, I am the only one that's going to fix you. Verse 18, thus said Yahuwah, behold, I will bring again the captivity of Jacob's tents and have mercy on his dwelling places. It's going to be when you decide to let your child out the room on timeout. You just go on in there and eat your dinner, feed your food. You made him a nice plate and prepared him, but you were upset with what he did, and you let him spend his time in his room and think about his what he had done and the spanking that child had received from you. But you didn't stop loving him. Verse 18, the Father's going to turn his come back to mercy on us in all of our dwelling places, and the city shall be builded upon her own heap, and the palace shall remain after the manner thereof. Verse 19, and out of them shall proceed thanksgiving and the voice of them that make merry. So we just read, he's saying how suddenly we're going to be healed. It's going to break the yoke. But the amazing thing I want you to see is that we see Ezekiel, the 20th chapter. We see Ezekiel, the 20th chapter, in verse 11, where he said, I will not leave you unpunished. So that's the spanking, the whooping, going up under the rod. And that's the purging out of the rebels who refuse to comply. They want Esau's kingdom, the beast system. They want it. They have to be purged out. And then we jump right back down to the joyful and merriness of those who are the remnant, the elect that do survive, whose names are written in the Lamb's Book of Life as we get ready to go into the millennial reign. And out of them shall proceed thanksgiving and the voice of them that make merry, and I will multiply them. That is where you will begin to see Isaiah, the 4th chapter, men having multiple wives because we need to reproduce our nation and bring forth children. And you'll not remember the past. He's going to wipe away the tears of Isaiah the 5th, Jeremiah 30 and 15. He's going to dry the tears. There'll be no more atonement. And then we're preparing ourselves for the Messiah to tabernacle amongst us and dwell with us. So it says, I will also glorify them, and they shall not be small. That's what he's saying. When I multiply them, we're just going to grow and expand, having children, kids, and kingdoms. Because verse 20 said, their children also shall be as aforetime, and their congregation, our gatherings, shall be established before the Most High. And I will punish all the survivors that try to oppress them. We read that in Isaiah 60, it says, arise and shine. The forces of the Gentiles will be brought to us. The outer kingdom is for the remnant that will be serving us, that survive, that he allows to come through. Now listen to this one, verse 21. and their nobles, that means the people we decide to be our mayor, our governor, our president, amongst us, shall be of themselves. You ain't had no business voting for these. Talking about you going to the polls and voting for somebody. The scriptures told us not to put another man over us, our nation, or our people. You were not supposed to be a part of that selection process. I don't care if your forefathers did die for it. They were in error as they were being deceived by the dream that Martin Luther King had. False prophecy, but utilized for a certain purpose. It said that we will appoint our own leaders to be over us, and their governor shall proceed from the midst of them. And I will cause him to draw near, and he shall approach unto me. For who is this that engaged his heart to approach unto me, said Yahuwah. And he said, and you shall be my people. So our officials will be close to the Most High, as he will have complete autonomy over the 144,000, our leaders and our governors and the different people we appoint over us. Verse 23, behold, the whirlwind of Yahuwah goeth forth with fury, a continuing whirlwind. It shall fall with pain upon the head of the wicked. Verse 23, the prophet Jeremiah jumped all the way back to verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it, even the time of Jacob's trouble. Jump to 23, a whirlwind. We're talking about hurricanes, tornadoes, and not no CERN, none of these machines. No, from the Most High. Why do you think most of these hurricanes start over off the west coast of Africa and make their way over into the south? Because it's following the slave ship routes. It's the judgment of Yah, and he's letting you know. But I won't get into that. There's lessons that have been taught on that. They take many of the same routes that the ships took that brought forth the slaves in this captivity. He's telling you here he's going to be using the natural forces to destroy man. And then we have 2 Ezra 13 and 33, where Yeshua is saying that when he steps down on Mount Zion, he's going to speak the word of the law, and it's going to destroy all their wicked inventions, all of their heart machines, all of their CERN machines, all of your little computers, all of your little AI, all your algorithms, all that stuff is coming to naught. All you're doing is trying to recreate the Tower of Babel, and they never completed it. You think you're going to complete what you're getting ready to kick off in full autonomy starting next year? It will not be completed. The fierce anger of Yahuwah shall not return until he have done it and until he have performed the intents of his heart. In the latter days, right now, you shall consider. Hallelujah. Jeremiah 30. Let's get some more before we close out. I think I want to go to, let me see, the book of Isaiah 61, Isaiah 61. We'll read some of that and then we'll close out. Fear not, people. Fear not, Yasharah. You got no reason to be scared. Oh, this is getting ready to be done for you. This is clear that those who endure this affliction will be exalted. So this is a confirmation of the prophet Jeremiah. This is Isaiah. He says, the spirit of Yahuwah, our Elohim, is upon me, because Yahuwah hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim the liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of Yahuwah, and the day of vengeance of our Yah, to comfort all of us that mourn, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for the ashes, oil of joy for mourning, and the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they may be called trees of righteousness, the planting of Yahuwah, that he might be glorified. And they shall build the old waste, and they shall raise up the former desolations, and they shall repair the waste cities and desolations of many generations. And listen to this, we read in Jeremiah. And strangers, Gentiles, shall stand, and they will feed your flocks, your cattle, your lamb, your sheep, and your horses. And the sons of the alien Gentiles shall be your plowmen, fixing up your garden in the back, and your vine dressers, preparing your grapes for your wine. Verse 6, but you shall be named the priests of Yahuwah. That's what we will be named during that time while they're doing the work, the ones that survive, that go into captivity. Men shall call you the ministers of Yah. You shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, and in their glory shall you boast yourselves. For your shame, you shall have double for everything we've gone through. Can't you just hold out for a little while? Brothers, chill out on the multiple wives because you can't take care of them anyway. Just why can't y'all just chill out and wait for the prophecies to be fulfilled? You got your focus on the wrong things. I want my stuff now. You're a spoiled child. You're waiting to be a priest. We're restoring the priesthood. Listen to what he said. Verse 7, for your shame you shall have double, and for your confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore, in their land, you're going to get some land, they shall possess the double, and there will be everlasting joy shall be unto us. For the Most High Yah, I love judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offerings, and I will direct their work in truth. And I will make here we go. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them. This renewed covenant has not been completed and done by the Most High. And Isaiah's telling you. Everybody wants to talk about we walking in a new covenant. What are you talking about? Verse 9, and their seed shall be known among the Gentiles. The Gentiles that remain will celebrate. That's why they're not getting rid of the Gentiles. Stop listening to these camps telling you that they're all going to be destroyed like Obadiah. Someone has to be here to celebrate your fame and accomplishments and see the realness of the prophecies and who we are as a people. It would be for nothing if nobody's here to say, oh my, those are the people, and look at them. We should have known the way they were slam dunking and returning punts and kicks. We should have known the way they sang, danced, did everything else. We kind of had a feeling. Right. Your children are going to be known great amongst the Gentiles, and even their children among all the people. All that see them shall acknowledge them, that they are the seed, which in the Hebrew is spermatozoa, the seed which Yahuwah hath blessed, not the conversion. No, you got to stop this replacement theology and these mixed camps and mixed multitudes. These people are going to be in the outer court. They're not going to be allowed to be where you are because you're a set apart holy seed. Not faith, grace, convert. You are a seed. You're a people. You're a nation, a race. You have a skin color. There's no more. Why do you let these fake theologians come in here and tell you that you're not reading what you're reading, you're not seeing what you're seeing, and that doesn't mean that? That's a Jedi mind trick. He's going to cause all these Gentiles to know these are the people. Verse 10, I will greatly rejoice in Yahuwah. My soul shall be joyful in my Yah. He hath clothed me with the garments of salvation. That is the salvation. He has covered me with the robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as a bride, us, adorneth herself with her jewels. For as the earth bringeth forth her bud, and as the garden causes the things that are sown in it to spring forth, so the Most High will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all nations. They're all going to see it. We're getting ready to go through some things, and it's going to be a lot of destruction, but really it's a purging for the preparing of a place that will be set apart and holy for our King, Yeshua HaMashiach, to reign and rule, a man of flesh, not in the spirit, not a Christ consciousness, a man who's going to come through the cracked firmament that his father, the Most High Yah, Psalm 68:4, is going to open up and say, now it's time. And these people don't want you to know he's a man of flesh because it takes them back to color and race construct and jealousy of a certain people. And this goes back to Lucifer getting kicked out of heaven because he did not want to bow to Adam, who was made in the image of the Father. We look like our Father. There's a difference between these other nations who worship fallen angels and other deities. They worship their seed line from which they came from. Our DNA and genetics are not even the same. People, there's a seed line. And I just read what's going to happen for you. This destruction is not for us, but it will be for you who deny Yah, deny his laws, his statutes and commandments, and you're not patiently waiting for the promises that I just read. You're trying to have your heaven on earth right now. These people buying land and trying to create their own wilderness and letting all kind of nations be amongst them and telling them that they are Israelites and saying, we got the cream of the crop, we got land, we got chickens, we got cows, we doing it. You're not waiting. You're trying to create your own utopia, your own kingdom. That's not what he said to do. He said to be patient. I'll place you where I place you. I'll put you where I put you, and I'll protect you, and I'll keep you safe. And I shall supply all your needs according to my riches and glory. I will never leave you nor forsake you. A lot of people do these things for the glory of man, so that man will praise them and their accomplishments. And that's a worldly concept and demonic. We're supposed to be just waiting, and while we wait, I talked about that a couple of weeks ago, we're serving the Most High, and we serve him through keeping his commandments. And we're being kind, patient to other people and following peace with all men. You don't need them. You don't need all these riches and things in the world. There's one man taking everybody's paycheck that comes to live on his accomplishment. He takes all of their money. What part of holiness and Kodesh is that? I rest my case. Fear not, Yasharah. Read Jeremiah 30, 31, and Isaiah 60 and 61. Read those all day today if you have to, and let you know that it's going to get dark, but it's not for you. You're going to be supernaturally protected. You got to believe it. Stand on it. Stand on the promises. All right, that's my time. Remember, the only for sure obstacle to truth is to think you already have it, because truth is a journey, not a destination. Shabbat Shalom.